Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned? Welcome. Have you ever eaten in a restaurant and wondered, how did they make that? And you want to bring the recipe home, but we're too embarrassed to ask for the recipe? With me is Hope Fox, who wrote a great book called Impress for Less, and shares with us some of the most incredible recipes. And I would like to welcome Hope Fox. Hope, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. Tell me, how did you come up with the idea of writing this book?
Well, I love to cook, eat, and entertain. The problem was that's what I'm known for. The problem was that I would go to these wonderful restaurants throughout the country and buy their $50 or $100 coffee table book and get it home. There was one problem with that. I never used them. Why? I didn't understand the terminology, what they were talking about, where I was going to find these ingredients, what they even meant, those ingredients, and there were no wine suggestions or helpful hints. So I said to myself 5 years ago on the beach at the Jersey Shore, that was like the epiphany moment. I said to myself, I was having a few friends for dinner, and I said to myself, you know what? Another book piles this high of 200 books that I never use. Something's got to change here. So I decided to write the book for all the home chefs out there with all those things in it that none of those other coffee table books had.
Well, what prompted you to start with the different chefs? I mean, you've got chefs all over the country.
Well, what happened is that I wanted to make those coffee table books more an everyday type of book. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I went around to the top 10 restaurants in the top 10 food cities throughout the country and contacted these people and visited them and talked to them. And that's a story in itself. How did I get those recipes?
Okay, so how did you get those recipes?
It took me about 2 years to do it. It was probably my passion, as you can probably see today, my enthusiasm, my persistence is that I didn't let off in a nice way, that they knew I wasn't going to go away. And then also I think my integrity, that they wanted to, after they got to know me, they said, you know what, I really, really like your idea because I also can't work out of other chefs' cookbooks. I can work out of my own, but not theirs. And I like the idea of being able to streamline and simplify the recipes for the home chef because I want to make my recipes more accessible to the masses. So they like that and they trusted me to do it for them.
So after they gave you the recipe, you tested it, you changed it around for the home chef. Mm-hmm. Did you give it back to them to see what they said?
Yes, it was a collaboration. It was like, I asked them for their signature dish, and we went back and forth to streamline these for the home chef. But we didn't just stop there. It's in less time, less money, less aggravation. Every recipe is a restaurant guide, a source guide, in case I call it Uptown, that you can find these hard-to-find ingredients or the best of the best. But remember, everything at your grocery store. The recipes, the bulk of these are 5 to 30 minutes. And there's also the helpful hints that are always left out of cookbooks on every page, the inside scoop from all these fine restaurants and chefs, and the best suggestions, expensive and inexpensive, and the substitutions. For example, duck for chicken, manchego cheese for any cheese, turbot for any fish. There's a recipe in my book for Chilean sea bass, pistachio crusted. I said to my doctor who bought my book, she called me, she goes, I just made that recipe. I said, well, you could have used any fish. I don't want to spend $26 for Chilean sea bass. She said, no, I use it with chicken breast. That's the thing. To be a chef, to be a home cook, it's an art form. Substitutions, helpful hints, wine suggestions, expensive and inexpensive, a source guide to do it uptown, but everything's at your grocery store, and the helpful hints.
That's fantastic. Well, the part I like is A, you can do it for less.
Yes.
And B, you said, what, 5 to 10 minutes? 5 to 15 minutes.
5 to 30 minutes, the bulk of them. But I always tell people, fast and easy doesn't have to be hot dog salads, doesn't have to be French fries and hamburgers. It can be elegant, and it can be about the plating, about the garnishing, all the things that I learned from the chefs that are in my book.
Okay. How is it to really work with these chefs?
I've got to tell you something. Once they got to like me, I mean, initially I had people like, I'm Hope Fox, and how do you do? They're like, so what, and all that. Once they got to like me, they were spectacular. My website is chock full of all the incredible support and quotes from all the chefs. A lot of my chefs are carrying my book in their restaurants. So the short answer is fabulous. They were wonderful to work with.
What's your website?
My website is impressforless.com.
Is there any particular chef you didn't like or did you love them all? You don't have to name names because
Yes.
I don't want you to do
Sure.
that. But one that struck out that was really difficult to work with versus one who was a dream.
I've got to tell you something that everybody's in my that's in my book. They were truly dream. I wish I could tell you some horror stories. There aren't any, and I guess the thing is that they wanted to be part of it. They already enlisted themselves, and we wanted to work together. So it was like, you know, I didn't really have anybody that was difficult to work with at all. They were really spectacular. That's what I can really truly tell you.
How's it to work with the French chefs? I mean, they can be so romantic and so, I mean, to me, also a little bit on the chauvinistic side.
They were lovely. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, like Danielle and Jean-Georges right here in New York City, they were spectacular. In fact, those were like one of the first people on board. New York was a hard town for me to crack, but I've got to tell you, those two were right with me right from the get-go.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What was the last town to crack, or is it?
It was the last town. I felt like, you know, I have it's Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, and Commander's Palace, Danielle, Jean-Georges, and Susan Goin from Luke in LA, and all the fabulous places. But the point is that New York I felt was the hardest town to crack, and I saved it for the last. I figured, let me get Commander's Palace, let me get Norman Van Aken, let me get everybody else, Rick Bayless, and on, and let me go back to New York. And then I felt like then I could really say, look, you know, I'm here and I'm doing it, and all I have to do is work with you at the end. So I felt like it was the hardest town, but then once they get to know you, they really embrace me full force.
You've reinvented yourself a few times.
Definitely.
What have you done that you would say led you to this and prior to that, and what was the sequence of events?
Well, I was going to say I've had many careers in my life and I've loved them all. I think probably I'm having the most fabulous time right now, but everything I've enjoyed. And I guess before that I did this book, I was on QVC for over 10 years and then selling healthcare and beauty products. Before that, I was a stay-at-home mom. I love that career as well. And before that, I was a pharmaceutical sales rep with Miles Pharmaceuticals. And then during college, I taught art, dance, and drama to mentally retarded adults, alcoholics, and drug addicts. So that's kind of my background.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
That's quite eclectic.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Did you sell your own products on QVC, or did you sell other people's products?
Other people's products. I was a spokesperson for many different lines, Conair, Weight Watchers, you know, tweezers, all the kinds of different healthcare and beauty products, sea cushions, and on and on.
You said the book took you 5 years.
Yes.
From start to finish.
Yes.
Getting all the chefs on board, going through and testing the recipes and coming up with the hints, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel is the most daunting part of a book?
The most daunting part was probably the early stages, was probably making those early phone calls and trying to enlist everybody. I think that was probably the hardest part of them all because, hi, I'm Hope Fox, so what? You know, I didn't have a connection. They didn't know me. I wasn't a food and travel writer. So that really is a terrific, people ask me, how did you get these chefs with not having a connection? It's hard enough just talking to these chefs with a connection. So that's really the miracle of it. I think to tell people out there is that if you have your passion and you can find it, you're really blessed, and follow that. And I think you'll always be successful. Because in my third printing, I've been out since August, just 5 or 6 months, and people just love the book. It's kind of grassroots and also word of mouth.
What else is coming up?
I'm going to be working on my second book, which I think is going to be an hors d'oeuvre book, probably in like January and February, and I'm hoping to develop my own TV show. I'm working with a producer now to kind of like develop something for me.
So put you on the Food Network.
I don't know whether Food Network, anybody who's smart enough to take me on, let's put it that way. I'm not sure where I'm going to end up, but somebody smart enough to take me on.
That is so exciting. Now, with the hors d'oeuvres, are you going to go to the United States, keeping it local, or are you going to go global?
I think I'm going to do the United States, and I think not necessarily by city, but maybe by region or types of food. And I also want to put my own recipes in there as well and start branching out that way too. So it's going to be impressive or less, probably hors d'oeuvres, but stay tuned, and I'm sure it'll be a big hit.
And we evolve. If you have a whole cadre of recipes
Yes.
that you want to put together, what kind of a hint would you give for the home chef when they're creating a recipe?
Well, like the thing is that what type of recipe? You're talking about like an hors d'oeuvre or dessert or what have you. Because like what I'm saying, the reason why I ask you that question is that if I'm having a dinner party, what I like to do there is that I like to try to prepare my things early on. If I'm having a barbecue, I like to grill my things before my guests come and keep it at a 100 or 150 degree temperature. That way I don't smoke out my guests before they come, you know what I'm saying, or cooking while they come. So I really want to prepare things way in advance. The other things I want to tell people is that it's the little things that matter. I always sign my books this way, every single one, even if there's 100 people waiting. Enjoy, entertain with a full heart, and cook with love. My book has a lot of love in it, and when you read the dedications, you'll probably cry. So always think about the little things, you know, how you plate things, have an abundance amount of food. Have you ever gone to someone's house, they invite you and your husband, and there's enough food for just them? Like, fill out the plates, make sure that there's enough for seconds and thirds and on, maybe even goodie bags to bring home. And always the little touches. Think about garnishing, slicing on the diagonal, making it lovely and elegant. It doesn't have to be a lot of money.
There's so many movies now on food.
Yes.
It's like the thing.
Yes.
And everybody who's retiring is taking up cooking.
Yes.
Because it's universal. You've got to eat to live.
Yes.
So, or a lot of people live to eat.
Yes.
Whatever which way. But what do you think of all these new movies that are coming out?
They're wonderful. I mean, depending on what the movie you're talking about, but I think it's terrific because, you know, I've had little kids buy my book and big kids buy my book and grandmas buy my book because really, we're really, you know, from like that Ratatouille movie, which is cartoon type of thing, we're really educating your kids really young about what cooking is all about. And what I want to do, I'd love to have some cooking with kids in my next book too, with hors d'oeuvres with kids, because bringing everybody back to the table, really that's the heart of the family. And that's why I dedicated the book to my mom, who taught me everything I know today about cooking with love and all of those things. So I think it's great.
That's fantastic. Still cook at home?
I cook all the time. I cook every night. And then what I tell people is that my recipes are easy. Every recipe comes with 2-3 sides. And I like to tell people that anybody can do it. People can say when I go to these book signings, can I do it? Yes, so there's a lot of book recipes in my books that all you have to do is read to be able to do them. It's just stirring a ceviche with a pot of crab meat and throw some ingredients on top and that's it, and it tastes spectacular. Like, people think that, oh, I've got to get fast food, or I've got to, you know, just do hot dogs or throw that. No, you can do chicken with peaches and asparagus right on my front cover, and it's done in like 10-15 minutes. Or I've got chicken with wild rice pancakes right from the box, 2 eggs, a half a cup of breadcrumbs, make them into patties, saute them, you've got a whole meal. It's fabulous.
What is the secret for you staying slim?
Well, part of it is that in my book, that's how I eat. It's chicken, fish, salads, main sides, and all that. So it's really kind of healthy cooking. It's really fresh vegetables and fresh meats and fresh chicken and fish and all those kind of things. I think if we eat more like that, we don't have to worry about the quantity that we eat, because I eat a lot of food. People say, oh my goodness, Hope, you're eating all that? Yes, I am. You know, I'm eating all that, but it's what I eat. I tend not to eat a lot of fried foods or junk foods or fast foods or things like that. So if you eat like whole fresh foods, I feel like you can eat a lot of it and still remain very slim and do what you love to do.
What do you think of this organic phase? It's not a phase because it's really terrific.
It's wonderful. In fact, I have like Whole Foods listed in my book many times as a source guide for organic produce and organic meats. It's wonderful. I mean, I shop at Whole Foods among other places as well. It's wonderful, you know. It's really here to stay, and I think more of the mainline grocery stores are incorporating a lot more organic produce and foods, because see, that's where the consumers are headed.
Well, how can you be sure that it's really and truly organic? Is there any secret?
Well, I think that a lot of times I look for the seal. There's a seal that says on their produce, there's a stamp that says organic or a sticker, and on the thing it says actually organic, and it's actually like, you know, it's endorsed from this organic, you know, place or what have you. So I look for the seal, or it says like specifically organic. And I think that's the best way you can do it, besides just like following them home and checking out like what they do there. I guess I trust my labels.
Well, that's good, because some of the labels are really ambiguous.
Yes.
And some of them, I think they charge you a lot more for the
That's right.
organic. And
That's right.
Sometimes it's like, little, is it really?
Yeah, I want you to know, like, I don't just shop organic. When I can, I do. When I can't, I don't. And, you know, cost is a real issue too, so I don't always shop organic for sure.
Hope,
Yes.
when you look at a recipe, is there a secret to dissecting the recipe so you can get it quickly and say, okay, I can do this, that, and move this around and do it in your rhythm versus my rhythm versus your rhythm.
Or to really dissect it to know that, can I do this or not?
Yes.
What I look at right away, Barrie, is that, do I understand what these ingredients are? That's the first thing to look at. Is something that I understand, is it chicken, is it peaches, is it asparagus, is it chicken stock? Do I understand it? Or is it something that in a foreign language I have no idea what you're talking about? That's one way I'll close the book really quickly if I don't understand what those ingredients are. That's why in my book, if I say manchego cheese, I say Muscovy duck, first of all, it's chicken, it's any cheese, but I tell you what that means. It's food dictionary on every page. Because like I said, it's less aggravation. I don't want my reader to say, I don't know what that is, close it right now and move on. No, we tell you what it is. So first of all, let's look to make sure we can understand it. Second thing is that the directions, or is it written out like in a foreign French language tongue, which I've got to get an interpreter, or because I don't know what a bain-marie is when I started this. I didn't know what, I knew what sauté was, but I didn't necessarily know what some of these things were, what a barrie is, what a fumet is, what a mise en place was. Who knew? I'm not French. That's why I wrote the book. So I guess that's the real thing, is that can you understand, number one, what they're talking about, what the directions are, or do we need a French dictionary? Or, you know, or with the ingredients, do I have to fly to China and start preparing it 4 months in advance? And that plane ticket's going to be pretty costly to do. So that's why I did it. And I think people always say to me, it's such a clever idea. It's a clever idea, and how did I come up with it? How? Because I couldn't work out of these chefs' cookbooks, and I'm known for my cooking. Something's wrong with that picture. And so that's why it's selling so well, because people are saying, wow, this is great. I love this book. And so affordable as well.
Well, the other thing that you said, that children are picking it up.
Yes, they are.
Because I find children are getting more involved in cooking than ever before.
Yes, they are. I mean, I can give a funny story. I was at the Jersey Shore this summer, and I had this, like, I don't know, 9 or 8 or 10-year-old boy, very young, come over to my table at signing, and he said, oh, I'd love to talk to you about your cookbook. And I said, I'd love to talk to you about it too. He said, and then we spoke for about 10, 15 minutes, and he said, I'd like to buy one. So I said, well, perfect. I said, why don't you get your mom and dad and bring them over to my table? He said, no, I'm going to buy it right now. He took out his allowance money, $20, and bought it. So that's what I'm saying. And then I had a mom the other day in Jersey buy the cookbook for her lovely daughter. And that's what I'm finding, is that that's why I'm thinking in my next cookbook, because I cooked with my kids all day long. I always, when they were young, and now today, I have a daughter 18, my son's 20. My son's a better cook than I am. And so I always say to people, you know, get the kids in the kitchen, cook with them. And that's why I'm thinking my next book to have a paragraph or a chapter about cooking with kids and some recipes with kids that doesn't necessarily have to be P&J, peanut butter and jelly, or hot dogs. It can be something fun and elegant with kids.
Well, kids are going out more these days to some of the elegant restaurants, and they're becoming more familiar at a younger age
Yes.
with good food.
Yes.
And also the other factor is that they're learning mathematics.
Yes.
When you talk about an eighth, a quarter, a cup.
It's a great point you just made. I just did a TV segment with Chanterelle. He just won the James Beard Award from the best chef in New York City. Wonderful gentleman, David Watluck. The funny thing is that he said to me, oh, Hope, we just sent your book in with my son that's doing a math project. We sent it in. We thought it was fabulous. David's in it. We love your book, and we sent it in. And he's doing a whole project on it. Exactly what you're saying is that cooking is a great way to, first of all, you know, store the creative juices. It's just storing the food. You can store those creative juices, and also about mathematics, a half cup, a tablespoon, on, and the measurements. I think that's really a terrific point you just made.
Food has gotten some bad raps, good raps. One case in point would be the Subway sandwich, where the one gentleman, he lost 200 pounds just eating Subway sandwiches. What is your reaction to all this?
Well, first of all, I'm really proud of him for losing all that weight. And I'm sure, like, if the Subway sandwiches were full of nutrition and it was like healthy bread with, you know, lean meats and cheese and things like that, more power to them. I think fast foods, they're really changing their tune now. They're really getting away from, you know, the trans fatty acids, or the trans fatty, what is it, trans fatty, can we cut that or whatever? It's not the acids, but the trans fatty fats and things like that. So they're really getting away, and they're trying to move more towards healthy salads, you know, fresh fruits and vegetables, grilled chicken. Have you seen the transition? So I think that they're getting into more healthy eating. And I think that if we can steer away from the lots of, you know, heavy fried foods and fattening cheeses and things like that, and just, you know, fattening chilies, and move more towards lean meats and vegetables, I think we're really on the right track.
I think it has a combination of people are becoming more health conscious.
Yes, they are.
Not only in the way they eat, the way they take care of their body, and spas are big now. I mean, like, it's like the thing to do is to go to a spa, and I can't wait to go to a spa.
I'm coming with you.
Okay, let's go.
I was going to say right now, I was going to tell you something too, is that, you'd be surprised. It's all about educating people. It's all about, for example, when I started this book too, Barrie, like my blinders were this way. Then, because I didn't know what these things meant. Remember, I'm a home chef. I didn't go to cooking school. I didn't know what a daikon was 5 years ago. I didn't know what I could substitute a parsnip, a turnip. I always felt lemongrass was really intimidating for me. What part to use? Oh my goodness, this is nothing. I don't know how to use this. So I learned a lot from working with these chefs, and I talk about it in my book. So I think a lot of it, when I'm doing my book signings, like, it's really educating the people and taking their blinders off. So like, this way, no, oh, this way. A lot of people don't know how to eat well, and they don't realize that certain things are bad for them, but now they're really being educated that, oh goodness, grilled chicken's the way to go, and fresh fish, and salads, and using a lot of olive oils. I didn't know that, and on, because I really talk about, it's just a sale for me with the book. When they come to my book signings, I really talk about all the different substitutions and how we can really eat healthy, because nothing in my book that I don't eat myself. And that's why I put it in my book. I wasn't going to put anything that I don't really love myself.
Took you 5 years. You had 5 years to test them all out.
Test them all many times. And this is how I eat every night, every night, every night.
Wow. Well, how do you stay healthy on the road when you're eating?
Well, I'm still particular. I'm still particular about what I eat, and I think that it's really easy to eat well on the road, because going out to good restaurants or just getting room service, I still watch what I eat even that way, because people are more aware and they're more interested in catering to you. And you'd be surprised, even hotel room service menus, there's always chicken and fish and lean meats on there. You'd be surprised how good they're even getting.
They're becoming more aware of everything.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
One ingredient that's really in the news is olive oil. Along with olive oil, you've got canola, you've got sunflower oil, you've got peanut oil. What is good and what is bad?
Well, I'm not a nutritionist. I can only tell you what I cook with all the time. I pretty much use olive oil all the time, extra virgin and even the light when I'm frying. And I also use canola oil as well, because sometimes I don't want that olive oil flavor. And sometimes what I like to do is mix the two. A lot of chefs mix olive oil with butter together for several reasons. Yeah, because olive oil is really wonderfully flavorful, but it helps the butter not burn, and butter, we know, tastes fabulous, and it also caramelizes really well. So a little bit of butter and a little bit of olive oil is a great way to go. But the canola oil is really healthy as well. So I always use, pretty much in my kitchen, both of those two things over and over and over again.
That's fantastic.
And sometimes grapeseed oil too, because grapeseed oil has a high smoke point, meaning that you can fry at high temperatures and it's not going to really burn a lot. That's why a lot of chefs use grapeseed oil. But pretty much in my kitchen, I'm always using different types of olive oils and also canola oil, those two.
Hope, what would you like to leave the audience with in the closing moments of the show?
Well, first of all, I just would like to I always sign off with this. Well, I want to thank you for having me. That's the number one thing. It's
great.
It's been a pleasure being in here.
Thank you.
And the other thing I want to tell people is that, you know what, don't be afraid, don't be intimidated by any cookbooks, and really give it a shot. And always remember, like I sign every book, is always to enjoy and to entertain with a full heart, and always cook with love.
Oh, wow. Hope, thank you so much for joining me. It's been great.
Such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And I hope you experiment in the kitchen with Impress for Less. Great way to go. Love to hear from you. So write us here at The Woman's Connection. Bye now.
I think that's good. We got a whole farce. That looks good. Right?
I was hoping. 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, excuse me, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're done.